This is the difficulty. All right. This is sort of pre-show. We're getting all set up so that in just a few seconds we'll be starting live with Linda. Thanks for tuning in. Well, good morning. This is CJ Holmes, independent real estate broker, founder of Homeowners for Justice, continuing the conversation from yesterday with Linda Zimmerman, a forensic auditor from Florida. And trust me, just starting the show is starting to swamp us with people calling and wanting to get involved and understand what we're talking about. And both Linda and I have volunteered for free and helped dozens of owners, because what we're trying to do is bring the truth to the people. The facts of the matter are these. In real estate, the way it's always worked since the beginning of this country, the land title records have been recorded in our recorders' offices, at least up until about the year 2000, 2001. And the banks decided to use a different system. One that only they have access to, one that they can manipulate at will, one that only they can see. We can't see that. And when I say we, I mean you can't see it, I can't see it. The OCC, the regulators of the mega banks, they can't see it. Our county recorders can't see it. Our attorney generals can't see it. Nobody can see it except those that belong to it. And this is part of the problem. As soon as you start doing anything behind closed doors, then they run amok. And so Linda and I are having this discussion, trying to bring to the people the truth in a manner that you can understand. Because we are absolutely convinced, we know this is true, that when you understand it the way we understand it, you'll be just as mad as we are. So thank you again for coming for today's show. And Linda, she's on the line. Now, she's still on the phone. I've been pressuring her to get video Skype. She's swamped. So am I. So she will send a picture. We'll get there. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us, Linda. Linda, you there?
Yes,
okay.
I just lost you for a moment.
Oh, okay. There she is. All right. So today, one of the keys that we're going to be talking about is the fact that the OCC has evidently, we're being told by the mainstream media, if you can believe that they have settled another issue with the banks for X billions of dollars instead of doing the independent foreclosure review. And so the first question that I have to you, Linda, is how is that going to affect homeowners?
Well, it may mean that they're not going to get the payments they expected. Some, if they were in the process, it might go through and they might get some funds. Maybe a very low amount. But the good thing is that they've admitted that there may be some wrongdoing on the part of the banks and the servicers, and that still leaves us open to pursue it. Now, that's what you and I are out to do.
Okay, so do you mean to say, am I hearing you correctly, by saying that this settlement might give owners some standing in a lawsuit or claims against the banks?
Yes, because it's posted publicly. It's publicly accessed information. They didn't admit there were wrongdoings, but there may be. So that, and the fact that you qualified for a review, there were some issues that were there.
Okay, so we don't know yet, do we, of any kind of addressing of these abuses? We don't know if the settlement will actually say what those abuses might be.
No, well, you saw the chart that was issued by the OCC where it gave dollar figures, and most of them were to be determined. So they were very vague, and you really had to fight come to them with the information as what you thought were abuses in order to be able to qualify. That was another downside to this.
Okay, so we might be able as owners to go back to that chart of restitution.
Yes.
All right.
And demand our rights.
And demand our rights. But now we would have to do that in a lawsuit, is that correct? Probably.
Probably. I've been in touch with several big law firms, and if we can, this is going to hinge on what you'll be talking about later on in the show. If there's enough evidence, I think we could get one of the bigger law firms to represent the people.
Okay, if they represent the people, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean they would be filing on behalf of the entire nation, or would this have to be state by state? I'm assuming it would be federal court.
The independent foreclosure review only covered 2009, 2010, and there were abuses before and after. So it has been ended. It can't be restricted to just that.
Okay, so this would have to be all foreclosures.
That's my opinion, yeah.
And so then one would have to assume it would be a national attorney firm so that they could pursue this in every state. Would they have to go state by state, do you think?
Yes. And I would back charge the servicers for the amount of research that need to be done. In Lynn Zamoniak's case, she presented the documents, and that's what you and I are trying to do, have the documents presented ready to go to the powers that be to defend us.
Right, and right now, most of the people, at least in California, can't get the documents into court, into their lawsuits. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's been my understanding. That's what people have said. Now, I just pulled up here onto the screen the chart of restitution that you sent to me earlier. And so we're talking about foreclosure in process at time of remediation, foreclosure complete. So they're talking over here 125,000 plus equity for some kind of restitution for these different things. If servicer cannot provide permanent loan modification, 35,000.
Well, the thing is that we have to realize that these independent reviewers. Remember, I commented yesterday, they touted that they're making $250 an hour on this.
Right.
And if the funds are going to go first to pay these reviewers, what's there going to be left from the settlement?
Okay, so now you're saying, if I hear you correctly, you're actually suspecting that this settlement with the OCC, most of the money will go to reviewers, or to figure out which owner is supposed to get something?
Right, that would be Rust Management and all of the independent reviewers.
So in other words, the homeowners are never going to see a dime, probably.
Minimal. It wouldn't count as much for restitution. That's why we can't, if this happens, we can't just sweep it under the rug and say, oh, well, another settlement.
Exactly, because it's just another settlement to benefit the insiders, the people working for the banks, and locking out everybody else outside.
Correct.
All right, so basically the way I interpret this settlement with the OCC is, as with the Attorney General settlement for $25 billion earlier this year, which again, so much of it is being used to quote principal reduction, but they're doing principal reductions on short sales, so the people still lose the home. They're not getting a loan modification, even though they often would pay more on a loan mod than what the house would sell short for. I know that for a fact because I deal with that all the time. And the owners are screaming, saying, but I would have paid, more than what they're selling it to somebody else. They've just forced me out. They've ruined my credit. I've lost all my equity. I now can't get a loan. I have to rent. So why are they destroying us individually this way?
Well, I guess that's why some groups and some people have come to see this as an overall plot to make us feudal slaves to the landlords who would be the large money powers in the world.
Right, which is why I've called it the government cartel and the rise of the land barons. Because the hedge funds are going to be our new corporate landlords, and they will be manipulating or be able to sway massive markets because they're going to be owning thousands and thousands of homes that they will be rentals, or they can securitize these rental contracts with the banks. They'll probably get kickbacks for that if the banks aren't already backing the hedge funds, which I suspect they are because that's the way they operate. So the hedge fund would be a wholly owned subsidiary of the bank. And that's the real risk that this country is running, and why I've started to try to really unite the people, because the facts are these. It's just like a bully. The bully's going to bully until we stop him. And we can stop him. And when we stop him, then we will have our country back. But we have to organize to stop them. So one of the first things I want to talk about on organizing to stop them is how misleading the mainstream media can be. Somebody sent me an article yesterday. This is about banks ignoring foreclosure in wealthy housing markets. And so this happens to be a little article written about Beverly Hills. And so, yes, they've got a lot of sales, and you'll look at this map that was put into this article. By the way, all of these articles are linked on my website, Stealing Our Homes. And so you can just go to that log, that page, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of links there. I've tried to highlight the ones in orange that we talk about. And you'll notice there's 160 homes for sale, and not one of them talks about an REO. So it looks like a very healthy market. This is Beverly Hills, for Pete's sake. But now, when she goes into Foreclosure Radar, which I belong to and have given maps and talked extensively about the foreclosures. In fact, I have a web page on my site about foreclosure maps of each county. You'll notice that there's a lot of distressed inventory. And on that little map, if you can see closely, some of it are those are auctions, properties scheduled for auctions. Some are P's, those are pending foreclosures. In other words, it's not necessarily an auction date, although this is not 100% accurate. But nevertheless, she's saying in this particular map, 64 homes have received a notice of default, or scheduled for auction, or are bank owned. And that's a significant amount of distressed properties in a market that sold 24 homes in 2010. So we have, almost triple the amount of foreclosures and stress, foreclosure stress in a market, but the media doesn't want us to know that. They want the people, they're hiding the stress in the market. And this is one of the reasons we're doing this live stream, to fight back. Every day we're going to show the lies that are being perpetrated on us as the people, because when the people really understand, I'm going to keep saying this and probably wear it out. When you understand that you're not getting the truth from mainstream media, then hopefully you will share a station like this that is going to bring you the truth, what's really affecting the people and how it really works. That's why Linda's with us on today, because we're going to talk about I actually have prepared some of the recorded documents, and she's going to do some basic explanation of the kinds of fraud and forgery, so that everybody knows, because the more we all know, the more we can join to fight back. Don't you agree, Linda?
Absolutely. May I add a comment to what you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
There's one more feature that I think is why they're not going with doing a short sale back to the person, or a modification. Is I have noticed that when they do a modification, they file only a recorded modification of the loan, and the original note is never returned, or never satisfaction is given. So that means that now they've created a new note, because they take that modification as a new note and sell it. So they're selling two different notes. One's already sold and they're making another one on the same property. That's my personal observation.
So they never reconvey the first note?
No, I've
That's
never
right.
seen it.
That's right. They just
personally what I've
modify it.
experienced.
Oh my goodness. And so when they sell
More money, ka-ching, ka-ching.
more money, exactly. Let's just sell. We have already talked about in passing, but I've certainly discussed it in my foreclosure town halls about how many times the banks will get paid on each person's loan. So if you have a loan with the bank has been paid on that repeatedly. Can you talk, just Linda, share with us just a couple of ways banks get paid on loans? Owners never get paid. We just lose the house. How do the banks get paid?
Okay, well, that's where that chart comes in that I sent to you. The banks that are saying that they keep the loan and don't sell it because they keep sending you your monthly bills. Now, think about it. If that's the fact, the bank keeps the loan, and they're paying individuals to do the billing and the receipt. So that's the only income they're getting for the life of that loan till you pay it off or refinance.
Right.
In actuality, the second part of that does happen. They are the originators. They are part of securitization, even though they say they are not.
Right.
They sell your note, not discounted. They also receive the full amount and fees. And they contract most often to be the servicer, which means they get paid by the trust to send you your bill, collect your money, and to pay the investors, to pay themselves, to pay the trustee, to pay the custodian. And all these fees are tacked on. There's two separate books. There's an accounting that you get that says how much you've paid down the loan, but the real set of books says where all the money goes.
So how do we get a hold of the real set of books?
Discovery and lawsuits, and the banks fight tenaciously not to reveal it.
I guess so. Because
when the bank becomes a servicer, it's no longer a bank, so it's not under banking regulation. It's under a private corporation regulation and New York obligation law.
Now say that again.
When your loan is sold onto the stock market into a trust, a vehicle, now the bank that is servicing no longer is considered a bank. They're a servicer,
right?
Which is not a banking entity. So they aren't under. And that was the whole purpose of this whole system of MERS, of selling it, to get it out on the stock market, get it out of regulation, and put it in just general business.
Oh my goodness. And so that adds another layer of complexity to the people, right?
Absolutely. But here again, if you know your servicer, your master servicer, now they may send you a letter and say, we've sold either your loan or the servicing rights. That little sentence is telltale. They have sub-servicers that they're contracted with, that they give the authority to do this. I thought one reason to hide who the master servicer is so they wouldn't get under the consent orders. But if you know who your master servicer, and they're usually the biggies that are named in the consent orders, they have access to everything that has happened to your loan from the time you applied till this very moment.
Right, and so the complaints, like one of the things that, and we're going to talk about this we're going to move into this news segment here real quick about how owners can start to defend. They need to understand what's happened, and then how can they defend themselves. And one of the things that I've been recommending that seems to have been working relatively as well as pretty much anything in postponing an auction date is to file a complaint with the OCC. And the OCC only covers really the mega banks, but in most cases, those are the master servicers. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So do you think this settlement with the mega banks, with the OCC, is going to affect that complaint process for the owners?
Absolutely, and that's then we have to do what I and others have been doing, just filing a general OCC complaint, and if it's with your local banking department per state and the national, which if it's a bank, if it's an NA, a national association, or whatever the governing agency is. File a complaint. Get that on the record.
Okay, and we're going to go into that in more detail in the workshop next Tuesday, right?
Correct.
Okay, next Tuesday, for those of you watching, and I'm blasting this out, Linda has agreed to do a dedicated workshop from start to finish. What information and the people need, how to get it, if possible, what to do with it, and like she's talking today about filing a general complaint, how you would actually do these things, because most of us are completely ignorant. This is not our expertise. I'm a real estate broker, and as you can tell, sometimes she's talking about things and I'm going, what are you talking about? Because it's not my area of expertise. This is why I want to talk and share it with the people, because the more it becomes understandable, straightforward, sort of like a checklist that you and I can follow, then we, the people, are going to have more clout. And the fact is, we're getting some wins. We are. It feels like a huge battle that we're mostly not winning, but there's signs, there's wins. So one of the things I talked about today, having Linda explain to us, is the number one way that you can determine if your foreclosure fits what I would call the fraud outlines. Okay, so Linda, real simply, I'm going to pull up a notice of default. Can you explain basically how a person who gets the dunning letter from the bank, the master servicer, knows what should they look for first?
Okay, what I look for, first of all, on the top left-hand corner, who requested the recording, who it's to be mailed to when it is recorded. That, if there's different entities involved in there, it shows that the bank has sent it out to create documents because they're not providing the originals. Okay? In the case that you have, are you going to pull up that NOD?
Yeah, I've got the NOD up now.
Okay, and in this one, if you look at the top left-hand corner, the recording is being requested by LSI Title Company, and when recorded, to return to Index West LLC. Now, this particular case, the original trustor was Golden West Savings, and the trustee, and Wachovia Mortgage was the original beneficiary.
And how did you find that out?
Yes. We'll see that later on.
Okay, but
so I'm going to keep that in mind as I look through the documents. Let's go to page 2.
Did you find that out from the deed of trust?
Yes, it mentions it, and also I don't have the deed of trust available, but I have it mentioned on the substitution of trustee,
on the trustee.
Which we'll look at later.
Okay, so I have here's the trustee's substitution. We'll be talking about that later, but she looked at this document, which was filed after the notice of default, by the way, and she found the original trustor. You'll see it's Golden West Savings right here, and the original trustee was Wachovia Mortgage. So in this particular case, this is on a specific property, which I've whited out. This is a notice of default that was filed in November. The trustee's substitution wasn't filed for another month afterwards. So basically, the things that I could understand and see, and what I've been doing for people when they contact me, is that I will look at these recorded documents and notice these discrepancies. I will notice... Now, go ahead.
This document, if you go to page 3, you'll see that the one that was named on the substitution of Index is Index West, and they're signing this, like you said, a month before they were given the power to be the trustee.
Right. So now that makes it legally
voidable.
A voidable document.
Right.
How do the people get it voided?
That's a strategy we're going to have to work on, because I'm not in a non-judicial state, and people have been telling me they're having problems. Maybe the lawsuit is the only way to go.
Right.
Magistrates usually don't care.
Right. That's what I'm being told. I have lots of contacts that are, updating me on their lawsuits. Most of these people that are talking to me couldn't find an attorney, so they're going into court themselves, and they are telling me that even though the notice of default in this case was filed without the authority to do so, because the authority came after it was filed, that the judge just says whatever and tosses it out. Doesn't.
Okay, well, we got some more points on this.
Okay, go ahead.
You see the signature on the page you have up?
Yes, Mary Lee.
Search on her. She's an attorney for a foreclosure mill. Now, how does she come forward representing Index? There's no documentation attached saying that the law firm was hired by the company, and she's signing.
Now, how did you know that this is an attorney?
I search, and I have a ground checker.
All right, this is why we call you a forensic auditor.
Mm-hmm.
Because you check other records and notice the discrepancies.
Right.
Right. Okay. So
also, something else I know from what I do, if you go back to page 2, this is very telling. Usually on the notice of default, they tell you who you can contact to negotiate your mortgage. And right there it lists Wells Fargo Home Mortgages Division of Wells Fargo Bank, care of Index West. So in other words, Index has an office, and everyone that they're servicing, for every servicer that they're doing these foreclosures on, they have a separate division. Because there is no Wells Fargo office there. It's Index. And I've come across this time and time again with bank after bank. Another issue, deeper on, is that Wells Fargo purchased from Wachovia only the servicing rights when it came to mortgages, because Wachovia securitized the mortgages. So therefore, it couldn't have passed to Wells Fargo. So now the real beneficiary should be the beneficiaries of the particular trust here. So that's an even deeper issue.
And people just almost can't get that into lawsuits, right?
In lawsuits, you can get it in. That's one where there are a couple of attorneys that have been winning on that level. But again, this is a lawsuit. This is more expense. So we want to try and hit it at the basic things.
Right.
Before it
right.
goes up higher.
Right. Now, one of the things that you and I have already talked about a little bit, and we just chatted this morning even before the show, and I want to just tell our viewers, this is a moving target. This crisis and the actions and reactions and what we can do as a people changes every day. That's why I've decided we have to have some discussion on a daily basis so people can keep up, because what we're going to talk about are some actions later in the show that individual owners can take, that activist groups could take in any state, every state in the union, and how we might be able to get other nonprofits and other sponsors to help us fight back as a country. This is a national fight. This is the people against the banks. At least that's how I view it. What do you think, Linda?
Yes, I believe that's true.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the trustee substitution.
Okay. Now here there's a major flaw. If you look at the sign, first of all, again, it's the same people up in the upper left-hand corner.
Right.
This is not shown as recorded.
I believe this was sent to the owner, and so they
But
probably
it was dated December 6th. At least we know that it's wrong because the notice of default was recorded November 20th, and the substitution of trustee was executed December 6th.
right.
We know it was after.
Right, assuming that this did actually get recorded. This document just was sent in the mail. And this is another thing. I just want to segue here real quick. So many owners say the same thing, and that is they get anywhere from 6 to 17 of the same document mailed to them. One contact in Napa County said she got 16 letters by mail and 17 certified, and they were all the same document.
I think they just have it computerized, like when they cancel your sale, and the computer automatically reschedules it.
Well, do you think this is an intimidation technique, or is this just
I'm
incompetence?
sure they've allowed the system to do it, and laugh about it.
Because it costs money to send all this stuff.
Absolutely. So now there goes all the money they saved by hiring MERS.
Well, would they get reimbursed by the government? The only thing I can think of is that somehow every time they send out a mailing, they get some money from the government. So, ka-ching, you know.
Well, they're using it also to substantiate to the court. Well, we mailed this out to them. You know, here in Florida, they're doing that. And then going back to the substitution of trustee, you notice the signature part there again, when you have Wells Fargo, by Index West, its attorney in fact, and then the assistant vice president. Never the president, assistant vice president. Now, first of all, since Index is the one signing this, that means Index is making themselves the substitute trustee. Can't do that.
Now, why do you say, by Index?
Yeah, because it says it's done by Index West. It's the attorney in fact for Wells Fargo. They're representing both sides, the grantor and the grantee. Can't do that.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Now, obviously.
You see this all the time.
Obviously, they can do that because they've done it. They've recorded these, and people are losing their homes over it. So here's what I cannot stand, and that is that the OCC evidently can't see this. You have this one.
I must point it out.
You have this one document that proves that this foreclosure is fraudulent. So,
absolutely.
What does all that investigation and all $250 an hour for those people to figure out what's wrong with the foreclosures?
Because number one, they haven't been trained to look for these things. They know nothing about basics. And then when I do a Google on Rick Juarez,
yes,
he's not an assistant vice president of his company. He's a worker in the company. He's been named as trustee, as an agent, various things. So the fact that he can switch titles on documents,
right,
shows that he's a robo-signer. And he's listed on some of the robo-signing lists.
Right. And see, now we've segued into forged signatures here real quick. I just wanted to show my webpage I've got on Homeowners for Justice. You go down to the forged signatures page, and I've got a deposition there of an executive VP of Countrywide who basically under oath says they took my name, they use it on documents. I have no idea which documents or when they use it, or who is doing it, they just do it. And that's Recon Trust. And as an aside, in Washington and Oregon, Recon Trust can no longer operate in those states. They've been prohibited. Do you know, Linda, how they got prohibited?
Yeah, because it was challenged. Recon Trust is actually a bank. They are a non-depository bank, a wholly owned affiliate of Bank of America. And when it was challenged in those states, according to state law, they were not allowed to be a foreclosure trustee. And that's why they can't do foreclosure there. So I'm wondering about all the foreclosures they did there should be unwound. And we're looking into California code to see if there's something similar.
Absolutely, because Recon Trust is one of the major players. It's B of A, right? They do the foreclosures for B of A. Mm-hmm. And a foreclosure mill, and now you're telling me that it's actually a bank?
It is. It's registered on the OCC of all the documents. It is Recon Trust. It's a national, but it's a non-depository. So they use it to set it, a bank can be a trustee. That's the purpose they set it up to do foreclosure as a trustee.
Now, back to this webpage I've got here, you'll note that these are just the forgeries that I have gotten personally from people's documents because I'm working with them, trying to help them for free to try to stop the theft of their home. And you'll see, this is why we call it theft. Because they've made up signatures, they've made up titles, they've put this on our property records. This is why people will say things like, our property records have been destroyed. They're filled with forged documents. So if you look down here, like Lauren Stone, this is what started me. Because I had several people contact me. It all happened to be Recon Trust. And Lauren Stone was the name, and sure enough, what came up, see these, here's a Lauren Stone signature. You can just link to the website, hofj.org. Go to foreclosed or forged signatures and look at these yourself. And my idea was that people could actually get these documents and take them into the DA. See, here's a signature. That looks different. Here's a signature, another different signature of Lauren Stone. Here's another one. These are on different documents, and he's different titles and different companies. In fact, in one case, he's signed, I have him here where they signed all on the same date for all these different companies. So here it's Bank of America. Here it's, another Bank of America. Look at that signature. That's different. So this is Bank of America. This is Countrywide Home Loans, all on April 10. Here's the next one on April 10. He's now Bank of New York Mellon. Now, I believe this even breaks the rules for MERS, right? I mean, MERS itself had rules you couldn't do this.
They can't be the assistant vice or secretary of MERS unless Lauren Stone is an officer of the company he works for. Can't be.
Okay, so here he is on MERS on April 10, assistant secretary, and here he is on April 10 as assistant VP of the Bank of New York Mellon, and here he is on April 10 as the assistant VP of Countrywide, and or she. I mean, I don't know if it's he or she. I'm just saying he. And here he is assistant VP of Bank of America, all on April 10. Mm-hmm. So here's the point. We've had some owners that have gone into the DA, and the DAs just refuse to file any charges. They call this robo-signing. They say, basically, whatever, and they're not going to pursue that.
No, well, I found early in my career, I went to the Attorney General's office here in Florida 5 times about one case, and they keep telling me, you have to go to the police department. And this might be a strategy that we'll have to do, that we'll have to file complaints in the local police department, and in this case where there's a notarization, file a notary bond complaint. And if you can get enough, that's why your website's going to be instrumental, necessary. Enough proof of this signature, they have to listen. One, they won't. But if you get a mountain of proof, look at all these different signatures. This is a criminal, this is forgery, this is fraud. I want to file a complaint. And I had police departments resist, would not file it, until finally Miami White Collar Unit listened to me when I brought 14 cases in.
And what happened?
Eventually, it was an investigation started, and through a nonprofit, we got to meet with the federal attorney, Alexander Acosta, and they opened a case against the perpetrator.
So what happened to those foreclosures?
Well, it was a case of the straw buyers. It was not the foreclosure issue.
Okay.
It was when the straw buyer issue
Right.
came out in Florida.
Okay.
People were coming into foreclosures who weren't fighting the foreclosures yet. We were fighting what these individuals were doing to honest people and putting them in erroneous debt.
Right. Okay. I've asked, somebody signed the OCC petition yesterday and commented, showed me what she had written into the OCC. I've asked her to call in today. Oops, I think she just dropped off the line. The fact of the matter is, just like Linda said, if we can't get restitution locally, what can we do? And one of the things I'm considering is, because I'm open to anything and everything. Let's put our heads together. And Susan had written to the OCC about, just all kinds of how can you settle with these fraudsters? What I don't know. What if we put a petition together that people could sign saying that they want the banks prosecuted? Would that even make a difference? What do you think, Linda?
Well, there's an avenue I'm exploring, and everyone's been trying to get the proof of the insurance paid. I think I'm on to proof of the insurance paid. And if we can come forward to the OCC and say, look, we got proof that this was paid, this foreclosure should never have happened.
She's back on the line. Let's listen to Susan for just a minute. Okay, now I'm going to try conference call, and truly, please try to get video Skype because I think I can handle that perhaps a little better, and people might be able to hear better from the phone. But nevertheless, let me try to work the phones for just a minute. Hi, Susan, you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank you for holding. Here, just let me get Linda back on the line, and I'm hoping that this works.
Thank you.
Linda, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Susan. Why don't you share with us what you were writing to the OCC with that petition yesterday?
Well, first of all, I thank you for putting it up and making it so easy for us to voice our opinions and have it be broadcast to all the officials that have a finger in this pie. And basically, I actually sent it out twice because I was so angry. The first one I sent, Dear OCC et al. If I recorded a forged document that was actually notarized, no less, with my local county recorder's office, I actually think I would very quickly be speaking to my district attorney. The reason for that, it is a felony to forge and record false documents. Why, I ask you, are the individuals who run the banks allowed to live under a separate set of rules? What? You don't think they do live by a different set of rules? Then why are the heads of the banks or even the higher middle management heads not prosecuted for these crimes? I do expect you to contact me with your specific reply to this one question. Thank you, and then signature. The second one I sent was specifically addressed to Mr. Lyons. He's the head of the OCC, Governor Jerry Brown, senators, and you despicable bankers. Just right in the heading. Enough with the backdoor politics. In today's electronic world, there are no secrets. The public will respond to officials acting with disregard to the best interests of those they were elected or selected to represent. The word fiduciary does have meaning. It is time for those who swore to uphold that concept actually perform in that capacity. Stop the political shenanigans. Hold the banks accountable for the damage they have done to this country, both to individuals and to our economy, by blatantly breaking laws that ordinary citizens are required to uphold. Thank you, and signature.
You know, Susan, I think
My message across.
I think you've written a very, very good response and argument supporting the people's anger. And like I've told you, and as viewers watch and as you pass this on to others, when you really comprehend that this is a scheme to take the people's homes and they are in cahoots, they've bought off the politicians so that they can get away with it, then you know, you'll get as angry as we are. Now, here's a thought. What do you guys think of this? What if I put a petition together and pulled out the key pieces of what you just wrote, Susan, and then we can have everybody sign that petition?
Brilliant, yes.
Because it's too late now to say, my initial petition was, don't negotiate with the OCC. Well, too little, too late. We found out at the very last minute they've already done this. They've already settled.
It was on the news last night.
I know, they've settled. So let's, I commit. I will do a new petition today. We'll have it available tomorrow, and we'll start sending this out to everyone. We need if we had 1 million signatures, people would actually start to pay attention, I swear. And I wanted to point out, if those of you watching, look on the website. I have the link. It's actually on April 16, 2012 in my Stealing Our Homes log page. And this is, and I've highlighted that in orange so you can find it more easily. This is how Iceland solved their foreclosure crisis. This is where the people knew that it was the banks. The people started throwing rocks at the bankers in the street. The bankers are being charged and put in prison. This talks about 90 bankers facing the issue of the fraud that they have done, and they repudiated the debt. What that means is the people kept their homes and their loans were forgiven. They were reduced in value to market. They didn't have to face foreclosure. They didn't lose their homes to the fraudsters. They didn't have to move. They didn't have their credit ruined. They got a loan that they could afford and pay. And guess what happened to their economy? It's booming. It's booming. And so if someone says to you, because I've had attorneys and people say to me, oh, if we forgave the debt, or if they reduced all the principal, or if they stopped foreclosing, it would hurt the economy. That is exactly wrong. What exactly would happen is that the economy would recover. It would boom. Prices would stabilize. It would stop falling. Nobody would be afraid of losing the home. And contractors could start to build again. Right now they can't build because prices have been driven down so low, it's less than the cost of construction. That's why the construction industry is ruined. That's why I have this little sign. I'm going to segue here to the sign that I have in my office. The foreclosures caused home values to decline, which lost construction jobs, which hurt our economy, which lost more jobs, which hurt more economy, which is now hurting our future. And because there's so many homes upside down, they're talking now 11% of the homes are in the foreclosure pipeline. Okay? This is not going to be over tomorrow. In fact, as a broker, I get solicitations all the time to go to an REO conference and become an REO agent. Now, I've heard back to our callers, do either of you heard what I've heard, and that is people and attorneys are suing the REO brokers for participating in this. Either of you heard of that?
I went to a conference in LA just before the holidays, and what was discussed there by a commercial lender was that hedge funds are buying up these homes in bulk, thousands of them at a time, and it's hedge funds. So, the strategy that was discussed was that their intent is to keep them as rentals and not flip them back to regular, ordinary people or even entry-level home buyers. That it's another level of greed.
Right, and I've been saying that, and maybe I ought to get on LinkedIn and tell all of the agents that unless we stop this, they will lose entire segments of the market to ever sell, to represent. Because don't think a bankster is going to have some local agent represent a house for sale. They're going to have their own agency, their own realtors, and then that's it. They get all the listings, and everybody else in the market is shoved aside onto just normal people's houses. And so the more and more the banks dominate the real estate market, the worse it is, and the more unbalanced it is, the more you've got insiders winning and outsiders losing. I see that all the time.
I've experienced that myself with clients trying to get, first-time home buyers trying to get in, and it's already locked up behind closed doors. The agent has already selected their end buyer before it even hits the market.
Right.
It's wrong.
And see, this does not help anybody except the banks and their minions. Mm-hmm. Right. The rest of us are locked out. And truly, the people, we need to join together and fight back. We can fight back. One of the other, thanks so much, Susan, for sharing us with that. I'm going to take your words, if that's okay with you, and set up a new petition. I think we need to have these petitions, and I'm going to send them to everybody we can possibly send them to, at least in the state of California. That's what happens when I set it up.
Here's a thought.
Okay.
CJ, if you could put a link, encapsulate a link in the petition so that people who need proof can easily click over and see forged documents or, just supporting information, let me go back and look here.
That's a very good idea. For example, maybe a link to the forged signatures page on my website.
Right.
Maybe something like that. That way.
Impactful. That's incredibly impactful.
I've tried. I've tried to make it impactful because I'm really, really upset at this. This is just not the American dream. This is the theft of the American dream. So I will put a link in
the other thing that I would suggest you put in there is a solution, because, you know, when you have dialogue with people and you present a problem, it's always helpful, and you get better response when you can also make a solution proposal. But your link to a letter about the Iceland economy, that would be really wonderful for people to read too, to get the mindset going of this is the right way to conduct this to solve this problem.
Right, it's already been done. Let's just duplicate it.
Yeah, because I personally have never seen that before.
Oh,
I mean, it's
well,
common sense, but I've never seen it actually in writing, and I had no former knowledge of that happening.
okay. All right, we'll put the signatures in, the forgery, and we'll put the link in to the Iceland, what happened in Iceland, how they've thrown the bankers in prison, how everybody is just super happy. All the people are happy. That's what we need.
The economy is functioning.
Yes.
Yes. It's functional anymore.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. See, this is such a good opportunity for us to really get together and come up with new ideas. Thanks, Susan. We also have, I'm going to try one more caller. We've got a caller coming in. I asked to share this is Maggie, about fighting chase and being cheated by attorneys. And then before we close today, I'd like to get some answers from any one of you for answers to the people's questions. There's some basic questions that come in. They come in all the time. They're all the same. So let me try again. Let's see if I can put you guys on hold. Hi, Maggie, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to get all the others on a conference line, and then just try to make it pretty short, please.
Whatever is needed, just let me know. What can I do?
Thank you. You can tell the people about fighting chase and being cheated by an attorney. Here, just a minute.
Good morning, CJ.
Just a minute. Okay, is everyone on conference? Susan, are you there? Linda, are you there? I don't think this is working. Just a second. That's you, Maggie?
Yes.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, go ahead, Maggie. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, CJ.
So, share with us your experience about Chase.
Yes, it is me. Good morning, CJ.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Oh boy.
Yes, it is me.
These phone lines aren't working. I don't know how to do this with 3 lines. So
Line 1 is Susan again.
just have them hang up, if you will.
She just called back.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Maggie. This is the phone. I don't know how to do this. If you guys were on video Skype, we could do that.
Can I hit the video Skype button? But it comes under the name of Emil Miliakov.
Okay, so we'll have to work on that too. Just a minute.
Yes,
Okay,
I can do it.
go ahead. I'm not sure why, Maggie, we're getting some feedback on this. I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Oh, have you turned down your live? Maggie, turn off your live stream. Maggie? I'm sorry, I apologize, guys. If you're watching live stream and you call in, you gotta turn live stream off. You gotta pause it. Turn off your speaker. Okay, there, because otherwise we're getting feedback from the live stream.
Turn it off.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Maggie. We got that figured out. Go ahead.
Good morning, CJ.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody on the call. It is amazing, and I have big pleasure listening. People and we smart women, how we put out problems that were never put out before.
Right. Go ahead.
First, personally, I would like to thank Linda Zimmerman because in a very difficult for me moment, when I was in a discovery in my individual case versus JP Morgan Chase, she helped me in extremely important for me problem, and the bank bombarded me with more than 2,000 pages in my discovery request for production of documents. And I was overwhelmed and confused and panicked and didn't know how to approach discovery in my life that I've never had any attorney's experience before.
Wow. 2,000 pages?
2,000 pages. That was like a box bigger than my grandma's linen screen box that you could have at home as a piece of furniture.
Oh my goodness.
So they produced, and I listened carefully the whole call, and I know you touched some of the topics before, so I will just put my personal opinion regarding MERS, regarding how they treat the homeowner when we are improper in court.
Yes.
And like the last topic we were touching right now, how the systems in our society, this is a judicial system, the legislation, the OCC, the government, do nothing in order to help not only the homeowner and the homeownership, but to help any kind of justice to prevail.
Right, right. It's basically the individual owner against the machine. That's what I see.
Correct. Although we're colleagues, I'm just an agent, not a real estate broker. I'm an agent. Myself, I got confused, as Linda Zimmerman said, when Chase Bank started foreclosing procedures versus me, and that required that I filed a complaint and started a lawsuit against them. It is impossible in today's foreclosure procedures for homeowners not to face robo-signed documents. And myself, of course, I had to fight Carla Dodd, notary, and Colleen Irby as a representative of 3 institutions. This is Mortgage Electronic Registration System, JP Morgan Chase, and California Reconveyance Company.
Right.
And in the most difficult for me moment, the bank in discovery presented the so-called milestones or MERS report.
Okay.
And myself, that I have never seen anything like that before, I called Ms. Zimmerman. She picked up like a miracle. It was meant to be. And she carefully explained to me how impossible is the history of my loan that they present to court.
Right.
What I mean.
Right.
Because my original lender bankrupted soon after they gave me the loan. My loan was obviously sold to WAMO, but there is no proof for it. The MERS report was showing that I was paying FDIC instead of WAMO.
Right. Okay.
In 2007. And from FDIC, my loan went to Bank of America, and from Bank of America, Chase purchased it.
And see what you're talking about, Maggie. Let me just get Linda back on the line here real quick with us. Hi, Linda. Just a sec.
Okay.
Okay. What Maggie's just talking about is that when you do the forensic audit, you discover all these discrepancies. And trust me, other people have done the same. And this is it's such a mess. And so they think one bank owns the loan, because they claim to, or they claim some other bank owns the loan, but often neither of them actually are involved. They're like Linda's already pointed out today, they're not beneficiaries, right? They're servicers.
Right. And I think that's why the workshop is going to be great.
Yes.
It's going to give everybody the tools they need to look for it themselves. And the milestone program, while Maggie was able to get it, she's only one of 3 people that I know that were able to get it. MERS does not freely give that to you. Bye-bye.
And so why was it? Because they had to respond to the lawsuit in a court action, right?
Correct.
Okay, so is this expensive?
Since the beginning of opening the action, when I was represented by an attorney, but unfortunately he got sick and was not possible to represent me anymore, I tried to and interviewed plenty of attorneys here around Bay Area. And I suggest we don't go deeper in this topic, but just will mention that.
Right.
Unfortunately, our attorneys showed to me they're either careless toward the problems of the homeownership, or they're out of reach, or probably both. And many times they represent another different hardship for the homeowner to fight, and the homeowners don't even know how to be protected from attorneys.
Right.
But the attorneys have their own games and their own attempts to pull money and
Right.
to gain time or to waste time for the homeowner, and which is payments, monthly payments, memberships, and all kinds of services that they state they provide, but actually most of the time they don't.
And then when the attorney cheats you, now you have to go back to the bar or a lawsuit against them. I mean, it's just a huge fiasco because now you've lost your money, right?
Correct. And believe me or not, everything started since I needed to retake my ethics class. And suddenly I realized that the same way we realtors are blamed, there is ground for, but we're blamed for many violations and professional violations of our professional duties. I found out that the same concerns for attorneys.
Right.
And I started reading the requirement for professional conduct for attorneys, and actually myself I found out that 90% of those requirements for high standard of professional duties were just violated in my case.
Is there any compensation for that, or do you have to sue them?
I understand that to sue them, it's a malpractice lawsuit, which I currently understand has very short statute of limitation.
Right, 2 days.
And correct. In order to be winning on a malpractice, the homeowner should have already won his own case versus the bank.
Oh my
which
goodness.
actually is impossible.
Exactly. So you're hurt no matter which way you turn.
Correct.
All right.
The only way to go after an attorney is for professional negligence, which I believe has 4-year statute of limitation. Again, I'm not an attorney, it's just my recent readings
Right.
I've been performing.
Right.
But I also understand that if the attorney was aware of some claims or impossibility of claims to be addressed in the complaint or in different pleadings, this attorney is also committing fraud towards his client or her client. And fraud has no statute of limitation.
Yeah, but proving fraud is really hard. That's what attorneys have told me.
But most of the time, the judges dismiss, for example, complaints on pleadings for the impossibility or insufficient pleading to state a claim. And if the homeowner is able to prove that this attorney knew, filing the complaint or filing the appropriate material in court, if the attorney knew that there is no claim and this is just a paperwork that is going to waste homeowners' time and is going to waste court resources and
Right.
time,
Right.
and then for example, how can it be proven when a couple of times or multiple times complaint has been dismissed for
Right.
failure to state a claim?
Right, exactly. Okay, so, but again, now you have to file another lawsuit and get another attorney, and hopefully that attorney doesn't cheat you, and
Okay.
try to get restitution from somebody.
I understand that
Wow.
filing a complaint versus attorney in the appropriate state bar, first it takes time. And
Yes.
the bar currently,
Right.
probably multiple states or in many states, are so overwhelmed by complaints that it takes time. And second, the bar has no interest in investigating fully
Right.
the professional duties and how the attorney performs under the code of ethics.
Hey, I want to thank you both for sharing. We've run over time, and I apologize. But, fortunately, we don't have anywhere specifically to go or anyone else coming on. We did get a caller today on Skype, but when you Skype in, please instant message me. I'm going to stick you on hold and IM me what you're talking about so that we can try to fit you into the conversation. And of course, on Skype, as long as you have a webcam, even if you don't, you can put a picture in, so at least we can see a picture of you while you're chatting. If you don't have a microphone, we can't hear you audioly. So try to get a webcam, try to figure out how to do that, try to Skype in so that we can have a video interaction and discussion. And I've got up on the screen now. I'd like to send this as a goodbye, and then we'll talk tomorrow. So we'll continue the discussion tomorrow. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. But on Occupy arrests, and this is the point, Occupy people have been arrested by the thousands, and guess how many banksters have been arrested? 0. We need to change those numbers. Thank you. This is CJ Holmes, independent real estate broker, founder of Homeowners for Justice, signing off on our discussion today. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Thank you for watching.